All right, welcome. Today, we're not just going to go through another grammar tense. Nope. We are unlocking a secret weapon for telling better stories. We're going to master the past perfect continuous. You ready? Let's get into it. You know that feeling, right? When you're telling a story about something that happened, but it just feels, I don't know, a little flat? Like a key piece of the puzzle is missing? Well, it turns out there's a specific tool in English that's designed to fill in exactly those gaps and give your stories the depth they deserve. And that tool, my friends, is the past perfect continuous. Its main job, really, is to show what was happening before another key moment in the past. Think of it like this. It's how you paint the background of the scene before you reveal the main event. It just makes everything so much more vivid. So the key thing to wrap your head around is this. You're always dealing with two events in the past. One was this ongoing background thing, and the other was a specific moment that either interrupted it or happened because of it. And understanding that connection, well, that's where the magic really happens.
Okay, so theory's great, but let's see how this thing actually works. The first big way you can use this tense is to build up the scene, create a little suspense and drama. It's just perfect for describing something that was going on right before something else happened.
So first up, we use it to talk about an action that was happening for a while until, bam, something else came along and changed everything. It sets up this whole atmosphere for your listener and then suddenly shifts it. It's a great storytelling trick. And here's a perfect example. The enjoying part, that was the long, continuous, peaceful action in the background. The storm hitting, that was the single dramatic event that just stopped it in its tracks. You can almost feel that sunny afternoon turning dark, can't you? That's the power of this tense right there. Now, this second use is all about cause and effect. It's how you give your listener that little aha moment, because you're explaining why a situation ended up the way it did. You're giving them the backstory that makes sense of the result.
Ah, a classic. We've all been there, right? Why did she miss the bus? Well, it's because she had been talking on the phone. That ongoing action, the talking, led directly to the result, missing the bus. It just connects the dots for your audience so clearly and makes the whole thing instantly understandable.
Okay, now for our third main use, and this one is super handy, reported speech. This is what you'll use when you're telling someone else's story or you're just explaining what somebody told you earlier. Now, check out the little time shift that happens here because it's pretty cool. When Georgie is talking directly, right now she says, "I've been studying." That's present perfect continuous. But when we report what she said later on, her action is now further in our past, so it shifts back a step to the past perfect continuous. She had been studying. It's kind of like a neat, logical form of grammatical time travel. All right, so we've seen why this tense is so powerful for telling a good story. Now, for the really good news, learning how to build it is actually surprisingly simple. And here it is. This is the formula. The best part? It literally does not matter who the subject is. I, you, he, she, they, we. The structure is always the same. You take your subject, you add had been, and then you add your main verb with ing. That's it. Simple as that. This table just lays it all out. When we're making positive statements, especially when we're talking, we almost always use the contraction. So I had been becomes the much more natural sounding I'd been. And for negatives, just as easy. Had not been just gets squeezed into hadn't been. So clean, so efficient. Okay, so we can make statements. But good stories aren't just one-way streets, right? To get the full picture, you've got to ask questions. This is how you dig for those extra details, the how long, the who, the why of the whole situation. And basically, there are two kinds of questions we can ask here. The first is for a really quick yes or no answer. And the second is for getting those specific, juicy details that make a story interesting. To ask a simple yes-no question, all you do is you flip the subject and had. It's that easy. So a statement like, he had been walking, becomes the question, had he been walking? The word had just hops right to the front. And the answers are just as straightforward. You don't need to repeat the whole thing back. A quick, yes, he had, or no, he hadn't, is all you need. Okay, now for the fun part, getting more information. You take that exact same yes-no question structure and you just pop a question word, like who, what, or in this case, how long, right at the very beginning. This is a great question because it's asking about how long an action was going on before a big milestone in the past, like an exam. And a typical answer would sound like this. Notice that little word for. It's super useful for talking about a period of time. You could also use the word since if you want to name a specific starting point, like since 2020. Both of them are really, really useful. So let's pull it all together. The main thing to take away from all this is that the past perfect continuous is your go-to tool for making your stories way richer. You can use it to build suspense, show cause and effect, and tell people what you heard from someone else. It's a powerhouse.
Okay, let's make this real. For real, think about it for a second. What were you in the middle of doing just a few minutes ago, right before you hit play on this?